Okay. All right.
Okay.
So tell me about this emotional decision-making process.
Okay. So I wanted to share. I have a really funny process. This is a continuation to our last video, talking about the solar plexus, not knowing, or it can be 80%, and the next day it can be 30%, and so on. So I actually signed up for a flat, like I'm moving in June. So the decision making on coming to deciding that I'm going to take this flat was funny because I really liked it. And the first thing I noticed about the flat was the numbers. Okay, so it was house 3 and the flat 30. And 30 is my personality sun.
And
And
three
I
is your
thought,
personality profile.
right, so I'm a 3-5. So I saw it and it was like I'm outer vision. Okay, so I saw the address and I just laughed. Like I could feel this inner laugh inside of me, like, oh my God, the fates are playing with me. You know? It was a weird feeling, like it felt
Ah,
familiar, and I'm like, of course I'm gonna take this flat just from seeing the address. Okay, so it was just a feeling. Of course, I don't trust that. I let these things happen. And then I go see the flat and it
yeah.
doesn't have a balcony, which is like a big no-no for me. I really need some outside space, but otherwise I really liked it. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna feel about it. I had until end of Sunday to decide. So I'm just sitting on it, and really feeling about it. And at the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna take it. I don't think it's not gonna be for me. I really need my balcony. And I just I was supposed to let the woman know by Sunday. And I don't do that anymore. I don't like I just let my body do whatever it does. And I noticed that I didn't let her know. If you could say that I forgot, I didn't forget, but my body just didn't do it. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna let her know on Monday that I'm not gonna take it. And then she contacts me first thing on a Monday morning. So how was the flat? And I'm like, I can't say no. So I start telling her about my process, and I start telling her like, yeah, it's a bit of a shame about the balcony and all of that. And would you give me a little bit more time to feel about it? Like, yeah, sure. Let me know tomorrow. What do you feel? Like, oh, that was easy. I'm getting more time. That's nice. It's like a bit of accommodating.
Nice, nice.
And then my other flat, where I'm living now, they actually send me some invoice and they put their prices up. And it was like it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Do you remember which gate and line that is?
I
I know it's
don't. I just saw it the other day though, and I don't remember which one it is. I don't know how to find that out really quick.
yeah. Anyway, I kind of feel like it's in transit now, but anyway, um, they sent me an invoice of some increased payments, and I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. And so I contact the lady on that day, and I start talking about it. And what actually happened there was she was so real.
Hmm.
She wasn't one of these salespeople who are trying whatever. She's just like kind of half swearing on the phone, like, it sucks. And, I could just feel her frequency. And I'm like, I'm fucking taking it.
Wow.
And it was just a response to whatever was happening within that. Like I had already decided no, but then I was like, okay, I'm just doing it. And then she sends me the contracts, I sign everything. And then I'm kind of panicking in my mind. I'm going, yeah, but you had already decided, in your head that you're not going to take it. Are you going to regret this tomorrow? And like the whole time, my feeling in my body was, this is correct. It was just a feeling that was
Wow.
like a wave that is pulling me. And all these things that, like, oh, it doesn't have a balcony, and all of that mental process, mental disappointments, mental kind of surface, no weight kind of thoughts of, oh, I wish I had that. But the feeling was like, I'm going there and I'm gonna like it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it was like
Yeah.
you really see clearly the difference between my mind and my body there.
And I
And
love
I
that you
wasn't.
just were real with that woman also,
Mhm.
because sometimes we think that people won't understand.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I actually find if you can find the language to share your process with someone, they do understand. You just have to put
Mhm.
in the language that's that's common to people. It's the
Yeah.
9.3 straw that breaks the camel's back,
Yeah.
9.3.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
figured
How
out
did
how
you
to
find
find it.
how did you find it?
I went to the Line Companion, and in the search bar, I typed straw and it came right up.
Yeah. So anyway, I woke up this morning and I'm like, how am I gonna like wake up? How am I gonna feel about it now?
Right.
I don't feel good. And I don't know, it's a funny thing because I'm so into the numbers, you know. I saw the 30, I'm like, it's for me. So anyway,
Yeah,
but
I
here's
love that.
a good example how your mind can come up to a conclusion of
Yeah.
no, but then the body has a different response. And so I can overwrite it. Like if I had decided with my mind the day before and I had contacted her and say, I'm not going to take it, then, like where would I end
That
up
would be
then?
very difficult. Yeah. But you
Yeah.
stay true to yourself.
Hmm.
So that takes some courage.
Yeah.
Those are the things that take courage to, not meet the deadline and
Hmm.
tell the truth about your process. Those are the things that we have to learn how to do.
Yeah. And like me, I have a completely open root center. So this pressure of having to meet the deadlines is always there. And I'm
Ooh,
always experimenting with not fulfilling them. And like, what happens if
yeah,
I don't?
you'll die.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, I'm not going to let them know in time what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Mental
yeah.
process
So
again,
much pressure, so much
Mm.
pressure. Yeah,
Yeah, whereas in fact, it's like, yeah, no problem, wait another day. That was also a really good thing. Like she allowed me the more time.
that's right.
This is how I often feel like, if I'm going for a job or a house or whatever, big decisions, if they give me enough time for me to come to the end of my process, I know it's correct. If
That's
they
right.
rush me, if they say, "Oh, you need to let us know by then," but I'm not ready, then
That's
you know,
right.
like, I'm not even interested.
It's interesting because I have a friend who's embarking on a relationship with a projector woman. He's a
Mhm.
guy who's a sacral generator. And um, he's my friend of a really, really, really long time. So I care about him and I love this guy and he's a good guy and all this stuff. And I'm worried about her, because we as generators, we're so about ourselves. And then the
Mm,
projectors are so about us. And then I was just thinking, it's funny, I was just thinking this morning, like, he's been into human design a really, really long time. And she is just kind of a little bit into it. And I thought, what's going to happen when they have a decision to make together? He knows in his sacral right away, and she's not clear. Is he
mm,
going to be able to support her waiting? Because otherwise she'll just go with him.
mm, mm,
Well, that's what women tend to do a lot. Some women, anyway, traditionally, women have been taught to go along with men. Projectors will see the other more than they see themselves. So and it's like, can he just say, you have to take some time, even though I want to do this and I get a yes, we might have to wait 3 months for you. It's like, does
yeah.
he have the internal strength to be that supportive and that empowering of someone when they will just go along with him? I mean, would I have the strength?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have some experience of this because
Yeah,
my previous partner was sacral generator and I'm emotional.
right.
So, I
Right.
experimented with this a lot. Like, when you come to decisions of doing something together, it is necessary to wait for the emotional person because otherwise it's just going to turn ugly because you're going to engage yourself with something that is immature,
Yeah.
immature in the
Yeah.
emotional person. So,
Or you don't do it together.
oh,
If they
yeah,
say
exactly.
yes and you
Yeah.
don't know, then they have to go and we don't.
Mm-hmm. And
How
then
true
the
can we
confusion.
be to ourselves?
Well, that's it. And like the pressure, especially when it's a relationship, and like you really want to work together and all of that. And if you don't have the clarity yet, it's like there's a disconnect. You feel like, well, we're gonna do this together, and now I'm not ready. So there's this huge pressure to
Right.
have
And then
to,
there's so much pressure.
yeah. And it's
I
really
had
tricky.
I had something recently that was quite interesting for me about this whole emotional decision. I was asked if I would go to Mexico to help a friend who's going to get some medical treatment.
Mm.
And, I have a lifestyle that I can actually do that. I can just go somewhere. And it was going back and forth for like a month or so. By the time I realized I had actually never engaged in my emotional coming to clarity process. And I don't know if I can explain this very well. It's like she never actually said, would you come on this date and da 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 and da da da, right? It was just like, would you do this if I want you? So it was kind of like this theoretical thing that I actually realized only like a month later that it had never gone into a processing for me.
Yeah, because it's like hypothetical situation. What if
Yeah,
this happened and would you? Well, you cannot know. You can
yeah,
mentally think about it from what you
right,
know of yourself, but
right,
it has to
exactly.
be a response. Yeah.
Right. Like I did say things like, well, I'd have to have all the transportation provided and I made
Mm,
some
mm,
qualifications of what I knew would work
mm-hmm.
for me. So then I said, would you just ask me?
Yeah.
She's a human design person. But she's also a manifester. So she didn't quite ask even a sacral question. She said, I'm wondering if it's correct for you. And then I
Mm.
just started wondering. But it still hasn't gotten to something that I'm doing this on this date and
Mhm.
can I want very much to be in my process of coming to clarity about it, because if it comes to the point where she asks me and it's like, okay, 2 days from now, it's not going to work. I mean, that wouldn't work for me anyway, because I need a little lead time to pack everything up and stuff like that. But yeah, I never actually noticed this before. Like
Mm,
something
mm,
has to engage the emotional coming to clarity
right.
process. It has to get activated.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
as a generator, it is a question. It is a, I mean, it doesn't have to, like, life is doesn't work like that. We don't always get the questions. We respond to things, but when somebody actually wants your energy, it has to come in form of a question, because that's the only way for the sacral to open up.
Well,
It's the
it
thing
can actually, I've noticed something about this too. The same friend that I was talking about, the guy, he loves me asking him sacral questions. So he'll call
yeah.
me like, ask me some questions. Well, he asks me, would you ask me some questions? And so then when I'm in the process of making a decision, he wants to ask me questions. And we talked about that also. Like he thinks I should just know if I get uh-huh or uh-uh.
Mm,
But what I have found, and I think this is true for me, I spoke with Lily and she said it's not the same for her and she's emotional. So this is maybe a Tiera thing.
yeah.
If someone is engaged with me in the process, if they're interested, like if I'm talking to you and I'm talking about, oh, I may go to Mexico to do this thing, and you're like, wow, Mexico. Seems like you'd like Mexico, Tiara. You speak Spanish. Do you want to go there? That's different than, do you want to go to Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I even can be activated in my sacral if someone tells me something and then I get, fuck no. Like, oh
Mm,
yeah, you should go. Ugh.
mm, mm-hmm.
Or like I'll call people up and ask for their kind of psychic impression of something and see how I respond to that. That it's not always
So,
a question, because when questions are just made up to ask me a question and they're not really engaged with me, they don't do much for me.
it's like, because we're emotional, we're generators. It's almost like we have to get in touch with our feelings about it. So
Exactly.
when somebody asks you, for example, or tells you like, oh, you might really like Spain because of Spanish or whatever, it opens up for you to feel about
Yes,
it.
that's
I
right.
actually do feel that.
Uh-huh. I do like
Yeah,
Spanish. I do.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Or,
Feelings need to be engaged.
but Mexico
The
isn't Spain.
process.
I could,
Mhm,
those are thoughts that go along with it, but I can feel the, or the, uh,
mhm,
yeah.
mhm, mhm. So the feelings are super important in the emotional process, to be engaged. to
Right.
be like, I often,
Right.
like people, I have this same thing about questions. I like it, like if I have a decision to make and I want someone to ask me questions, it is more like I prefer the questions where they ask me things like, how do you feel about this? Or do you feel good? Like something that engages me to
Do you
just
feel good
different
about
from,
it? Right.
yeah,
Rather than,
exactly.
do you want that? Is that good
Mhm.
for you?
Yeah, because one thing is the mind. Yeah, my mind wants everything, but it's like if I really start to go like, how do I actually feel about it? It's an internal process. I have the 59.6 channel, so for me it's about knowing myself intimately, and it's unconscious, so I don't have like conscious access to it. So when somebody asks me questions about something that is to do with feelings, I can start to sink into that and then just see what bubbles out of me,
That's a
like
really
naturally.
good point. Yeah.
So it's very important. And, like you say, yeah, the questions are nice because it activates the response, but often the questions of want is, I don't like to say that it's a shitty question, but
I actually like want.
I don't
My
too
other
much
friend
because
doesn't
my
like
mind wants
want
everything.
either. He likes need, and I don't like need.
Yeah, well,
But I
I guess
like, do
we
you
have different
feel?
preferences.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Does it feel good? The one
Yeah.
thing I'm aware of, my sacral is like a kindergartner. If there's
Mm,
too long of a sentence, I'm already in my head. It has to be
right.
like just a couple words to
Mhm.
get that body response before I start thinking.
Yeah, I think I don't like the want too much because there are many things in life that I don't actually necessarily want, but they need to be done, need to do, or I still prefer to do them rather than not do them. So I might have a response to something I don't actually want, but I know it has to be done. I'm a motivation guild
That's
fixer.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
there's things like that, like nuances. So I can't live my life in the way that my mind wants things. It's more like what is necessary. What is good for my
Yeah.
well-being, and
Yeah.
like the whole package rather than just what I want. Because
Yeah.
life doesn't
I'm
work
not
like
like that. I just want what I want.
that.
But also my 59.6 is all conscious.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
aware of that kind of emotional stuff that's going on in me.
Whereas I have the 30th gate as my personality sun, and it's kind
Desire.
of desire. It wants everything, and
It
it's my
does.
mind that wants
Does it
everything.
really want everything?
Well, no, but this is it. Like in my mind, I have this process of I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that, and then when it actually comes to the end of it, I don't want any of it.
Ah,
Because the truth in my body is that I'm quite picky with things, but it's my mind that is always looking and wanting to experience. It's sort
right.
of the human experiential way, 4130. So there's always this hunger, and there's hunger in the 30th gate. So hungry for experiences. It does not necessarily mean that it's correct for my body to engage with all the things that my mind wants. So often I have to really look. I mean, I'm grounding in the 29.3, which is a no. It's a gate of saying
Yeah,
yes, but
that's
life
right. That's your
no.
that's your earth. You know,
Yeah, so
the
it's like
thing
I desire, I want, but actually my truth is no.
uh-huh. I like that, and I like that distinguishing piece, and I think it's important. And when we look at the body, one of the things I look at for me is my PHS.
Mm,
That's what I can take in, right? The
mm,
PHS is yeah, people think it's about food, and it's about food, but it's about taking in information, taking in
yeah,
experience, taking in people, taking in
yeah.
whatever it is. And I'm a color two, tone two. And one of the words for the two, like a two is a two is a two. So you can kind of interchange keynotes. That's what I play
Mm,
along with around with is interchanging keynotes from, it's over here, but what if we put that word there? Oh.
yeah.
So, my body is bigoted. My body is discriminating. My body, my brain, it doesn't want to take in almost anything,
Mm-hmm.
and it won't.
Mm-hmm.
It actually won't at this point. I've gotten to the point where my body just says no to taking in most things. Um, so I don't have that same, like, if I want it, it's I can trust my body will say no if it's not gonna take it in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really this is what I love about human design. It's like, oh, the other day I thought this concept that to me the human design is a language, and it's a language to describe our differences, you know, because you and I are both emotional generators. We're both 3 5s. We both have a 59 6.
Yeah.
But yet, how differently do we process?
That's
And
right.
we could
That's
never
right.
see this unless we had the language to describe
That's
that. You know,
right.
we have the whole concept of what the second color, line, tone, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So we can build the narrow path into understanding what that means. And it's completely different to me. I'm a sixth color.
I was just going to say that.
Third
So,
tone.
could a question that has to do with light be a good question? Like a color that, I mean, a question someone could say to me, most people don't, is, do you have a taste for that?
Mm,
Because that's the
mm,
keynote. Does that bring light? Do you feel light about that? That
Yeah, I
bring
mean,
light
can you
to
hear
you?
my
You know,
response? Like,
yeah. So those maybe you could key people and even, you know, for yourself, like, is there light in this for me?
yeah.
Does this bring light to me? You know,
Mm,
finding ways to, you know, I find that if I even have someone's chart and I just see their keynotes and I use those as words randomly, it actually works for people because it's us.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
do have to have a taste for it.
That's really
I have
nice.
a
Like,
taste for very little.
yeah, and like now that it's funny because a light can actually mean a couple of things. It can mean
Yes,
light as in there's light and darkness, or it can mean light and heavy.
that's right.
So when you actually first mentioned is that does it bring lightness to you or light? The first thing I felt was lightness as in
Yes,
weight. And
yes,
like, I responded to that.
yeah. I saw your body
Yeah.
respond to it. Yeah,
So that's a really interesting point. And I am such I love words.
me
I
too.
just love words because they can have these different meanings. And you know, when you start to look at where do some words originate from, you can really dive deep into the core of the meaning of something. So I think Ra was quite a
Oh,
wizard with words. I think he used
yes.
a
I
lot
think
of words.
that's why he could do this,
Yeah,
because he could find
exactly.
the words. You know, I've been doing these, what I used to call psychic readings, and now I just call inner vision because that's my tone and my personality. And I can just look and I see things. I just do.
Mm,
And I've done it for decades now. And I'm accurate. It's weird. I don't know.
mm,
It's just I can see. And what I have found, like I'll see a picture. That's usually what I see is I see a picture, and then if I can put the words that actually and accurately depict the picture I'm seeing, it's like a key that goes into someone and unlocks something that they can see.
mm.
I
Yeah,
can I can
yeah.
feel it when I can put the right words to it. And sometimes I fumble around and sometimes I'm really good at it. But
You
yeah,
have the 14th gate, and that's in the channel of the keeper of the keys.
oh, yeah. I never thought of that.
And it's in your environment, so this is what you're here to see.
Yeah. I have it twice actually. It's in my Saturn personality.
Oh,
No, my Saturn design
okay.
and my environment.
Uh-huh.
And it's
Uh,
your, is it your sun?
Personality.
Your
No,
sun,
design sun. Yeah.
design
And
sun.
I have it like 3 times. I can't remember
It's all over the place.
but yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
so
pretty
I have
cool.
the keys, but I have to see the people have to call it out of me. Again, that's another one for the tude. I have to be called to something.
Mm-hmm.
Body does. My mind, it's different. My mind just likes really a lot of experience.
But in a way, your mind is right as well. So things have to be called out of you.
Well, it has to be called out of me, but to go do something
Yeah.
and wander around and look at things. That's what I do most of the day. Yeah.
Cool.
I like this. I think this is a nice further deepening into the emotional process. Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything else you
Mm-hmm.
want to say about that?
Well, I just think it's important to talk about these things. I feel like, you know, I have my emotional group, And a lot of people finding it, and there's a lot of newbies in there, and there are questions about the emotional process, because Ra was not emotional. So okay, there's a very basic thing about waiting for clarity, but it's not like, like when you're sacral generated, for example, and somebody asks you, it's there immediately, your response, or it's not.
Or it's not.
There's
Yeah.
no, yeah, so there's none of this like,
Right.
I don't know, like, oh, it can be if you're very individual, but when you're emotional, the wait is about that. And what happens when you settle into your waiting, your mind starts to work, and then your mind is processing and analyzing and trying to make up excuses and reasons and hurrying you and all of that.
That's
So there's
right.
this huge
That's
mental
right.
process that happens, and it's important that we talk about that,
I agree.
because it is the process that your mind actually goes through something, but it's always trying to pressure you to come to clarity before you're clear. And when the time is really long, because like I have waited for a decision for 10 years in past, or 8 years, it's really funny how mind wants to rush you into things. And to talk about that process of really feeling the pressure to have to kind of come to your clarity before you're clear, it becomes really uncomfortable at some point, especially when this whole pressure of the outside world, like, these deadlines or what have you, is like, I think these processes are important to put out, so that we can communicate to each other,
Yeah.
and we can build the trust that, eventually it's going to be okay, because the waiting is your authority. So until you don't
You
know,
don't
and you
know.
engage before your time, it's only going to, I mean, not always necessarily, but most of the time it's not going to work. So,
It's not gonna feel good.
yeah, it's not going to, if your generator is not going to be satisfying.
Yeah.
So,
And
so
it's a difficult thing to really trust, especially in the beginning, because it just
mm,
seems insane, and you can feel like you'll never be clear, you
yeah.
know.
And you think
Um,
that you're crazy, like, how the fuck can I wait? Like,
right,
everybody else is doing something and I'm not.
right, right. And you know, so many of us have spent most of our lives not waiting. And so we're used to the feeling of it feeling kind of horrible.
Yeah.
And we don't understand until we take that risk, until we're courageous enough to go, not clear yet,
Mm-hmm.
and really wait and really wait and really wait until that moment goes, oh, okay. It's almost a ridiculous moment because it seems so clear sometimes when it comes. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that was not a big deal. Like the clarity
Yeah,
is not, it's not
exactly.
like, wow, I'm clear. It's like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, like there's nothing.
right. There's
Like,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, and so you don't even realize what you can have if you wait, because if you've never waited, you're just used to being kind of nervous all the time and
Yeah,
worried
a
that
pull,
something's going
a
to go
pull.
wrong all the time.
Yeah. And that's a funny, like, I just realized again, talking about my 30th gate here, is that the keynote there is to accept what is,
Yeah.
right? And the 30th gate is about feelings, recognition of feelings. So often for my process, it's just that I just have to accept that I might wait forever. And when I land into that acceptance, that's when the clarity comes.
Yeah.
After that,
Yeah.
it can come before that. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm just loving this because, like you said, like a lot of people who are first getting into this, it's uncomfortable. It is really uncomfortable, especially when the wait is so long. Like
Yeah.
what I tend to do still, but I did this a lot in my process, is that I watched all the opportunities that life gave me to wait. So for example, I'm going to a shop, I'm waiting in the queue. I'm just waiting, I know I gotta be somewhere in like 10 minutes or something. And the queue is long and it doesn't seem to go down. And I start to feel this, and then I'm like, oh, but I'm just gonna wait. And I just relax and I start watching and I look at what people are buying and I'm just enjoying it. and it gives me this sense of like my
A
whole
whole
body just
different thing.
relaxes. Yeah, and then when I'm relaxed, I get to the tail, and often this happens like ladies like, oh, I'm really sorry about your weight, and I'm like, I'm good, I like waiting, and they always shocked. How do you like waiting?
How can you
I
like
love it.
waiting? Nobody
It
likes
relaxes me.
waiting.
Yeah, like it buys me that time to be able to just watch and observe what's
Yeah,
going on. It
yeah,
goes from being this nervous and I have to be somewhere, I have to do something, into, oh, what's happening out here in the world? That's pretty cool, you know? It's a totally different way of being.
yeah,
So it's nice.
yeah.
I'm a lover of waiting. I really am. Good point.
Oh, fantastic.
Cool.
Cool.
That's it for
Okay.
today on this one.
That's it for now.
That's it for now. See ya.
Bye.